Welcome to the Inc. Productivity Tip of the Day. Today's tip: how smart companies detect threats before they hit. An expert opinion by Bradley Akubiro, partner at Bully Pulpit International. Most companies learn about a crisis at the same time their customers do, when something breaks. By then, the window for shaping the narrative has already closed. The organizations that consistently navigate turbulence aren't lucky. They're listening. They've built systems that detect shifts in sentiment, spot emerging narratives, and distinguish genuine threats from background noise before those threats reach critical mass. This isn't about having the biggest monitoring budget or the most sophisticated AI. It's about knowing where to look, what to measure, and when to act. When Ticketmaster disclosed its 2024 data breach, the company moved slowly, and the narrative formed without it. What could have been a manageable crisis became a trust collapse. Contrast that with Eli Lilly's response when a fake Twitter account announced free insulin in late 2022. The stock dipped. Outrage spread. However, instead of playing defense against a hoax, Lilly addressed the underlying frustration directly, announcing a real price cap months later. Same information environment, radically different outcomes. The difference was detection speed and the willingness to act on what it revealed. When I was leading public affairs at United Technologies, Tim McBride, who headed global government relations, challenged our team to build a better system for understanding when and how to engage on emerging issues. We partnered with a media intelligence firm called Signal to create a real-time dashboard that tracked not just coverage volume, but conversation velocity, sentiment, and audience composition as well. Having the technology was only half the battle. What made the system useful was mapping it to the stakeholders who could actually impact our business: policymakers on key committees, regulators, and the analysts who influenced our investors. Most systems don't fail because of bad technology. They fail because nobody asked the right question at the outset: whose opinion actually matters to our business? That experience shaped my approach to crisis and threat detection, which I now use with clients at Bully Pulpit International. I've boiled it down to 3 things that actually matter. First, internal intel. Your best early warning system is often the people closest to your stakeholders. Customer service teams noticing complaint patterns, sales teams hearing concerns, government relations tracking regulatory shifts, employees surfacing issues through anonymous channels. These human sensors are already on your payroll. Most companies just don't ask them the right questions. However, asking isn't enough. The value of these networks depends on whether leadership actually listens and whose concerns get taken seriously. In too many organizations, early warnings from junior staffers or employees from underrepresented groups get dismissed or filtered out before they reach decision makers. A detection system is only as reliable as the organization's willingness to believe what it's hearing, especially when the signal comes from someone who doesn't look like the people in the room. Second, modern monitoring tools. Platforms like Meltwater, Cision, and Talkwater provide the infrastructure, but the real value is in configuration. Track mentions not just for volume, but for velocity as well. Pay attention to who is talking, not just what they're saying. An obscure post from an influencer known for driving narratives is more significant than 100 random mentions. As detection tools become more AI-enabled, they're also more vulnerable to manipulation. Synthetic narratives and deepfakes can trigger false positives or mask real threats. Third, actionable metrics. Establish baseline conversation levels so you can identify meaningful spikes versus normal fluctuation. Track sentiment shifts, measure velocity, and analyze audience composition. Are the people driving conversation journalists, customers, employees, activists, or bots? If you're a CEO, here's a question worth asking your team. When was the last time we caught something before it became a headline? And what system made that possible? If the answer is vague or starts with, "we got lucky," you don't have a detection capability. You have a reaction capability. That's a different thing. Detection is valuable only if it improves your decisions, and sometimes the right decision is to do nothing. I use a simple framework with clients that I call the traffic light system. It's simple, but effective. A red light means you need to act now. The people who matter most to your business are paying attention, sentiment is moving against you, and the conversation is accelerating. A yellow light means something is worth watching, but it hasn't reached the velocity that demands response. Prepare your materials, brief your spokespeople, but don't go public yet. A green light means your current approach is working. Stay the course. The framework forces discipline. Leadership's emotional response to a negative headline often doesn't match the actual risk. Inserting your voice into a dying news cycle can actually extend it. Handling a crisis well doesn't necessarily mean a company is faster than everyone else. It means it's more precise. It knows what matters, who matters, and when the moment calls for action versus patience. For boards and senior leadership, the question isn't just whether you have a detection system, it's whether that system is integrated with your escalation and disclosure protocols. A red light situation may require legal review, board notification, or regulatory disclosure. Those decision rights should be defined in advance, not improvised under pressure. If your CCO is making escalation calls without clear alignment with general counsel and the C-suite, you have a governance gap, not just a communications gap. The time to build a detection system is not when you're under fire, it's now. Any Chicagoan knows what it looks like when a blizzard is on the way. You don't wait for the snow to start falling before you stock up. Start by auditing your current listening capabilities. Who in your organization is closest to your key stakeholders? How often do you ask them what they're hearing? And do you have predetermined thresholds for when a situation moves from monitoring to action? Most companies discover the answers to these questions in the middle of a crisis. By then, it's too late to build the system. The organizations that navigate crises successfully aren't the ones with the best crisis response plans. They're the ones who saw it coming and started preparing while everyone else was still enjoying the weather. That's it for today, but be sure to come back tomorrow for another tip from Inc.